Seals are one of Ireland's most unique and interesting wild animals. Yet despite this, many are injured and killed due to marine pollution and other negative human effects on their natural habitats. This is the story of Mel Robinson, who sacrifices her spare time in order to preserve the seal populations on our coasts.
I love seals, and I always, at weekends, would have spent my time with Explorers in Northern Ireland. They rescue seals up there and they had no jobs going because they were going to be closing down. So I drove around every weekend to look at seals in the wild, and they actually said to me, why don't you contact the guys in Wexford? So I contacted the guys here at the time and they said, yeah, come on ahead, and I've never looked back. We take in injured, sick seals, we rehabilitate them and release them back out whenever they're fully healthy. We never release an unhealthy seal. We also try not to bring in healthy seals because it's not good for them. I come down just every weekend. I just work out with the seals, feed them, do the usual cleaning up. During the week I also deal with adoption packs, and any paperwork that needs done sort of comes my way. So I try to work on all that in between my other full-time job. We literally had no transport and we didn't have a big network of people around the country. So I would literally drive around Ireland rescuing seals all over the place. I would get a call on a Friday in work and be told you have to go to Sligo. So I would drive from Belfast to Sligo, pick up a seal, sometimes have to stay there for an hour while another one was rescued, and then drive the two of them down here. So sometimes it'd be 2-3 o'clock in the morning before I would get down here. One instance was a Saturday then that I had to drive to Mayo as well to pick up a pup, literally after being in Sligo the night before. So yeah, I put 35,000 miles in my car in the space of a year. This year so far we've had around maybe 70 pups. Not all of them unfortunately have made it. Some of them have died en route to us, so we don't actually count them as a rescue. But like I say, we have pups come in, they could be abandoned by their parents at a young age, well by mum. There's other pups come in, they've got nasty injuries. We've had a few really nasty injuries this year. There's sort of older pups who come in about 5 or 6 months old that just haven't, mum's left them, they haven't made it and they've struggled, got a bit of lungworm or something, so we pick them up and hopefully rehabilitate them. Whenever our seals first come in, we put them into ICU because it means we can quarantine them and see what their injuries are. It's a massive box that just gives them enough room they can move about, and we can fill with water if necessary. Usually after a couple of days in ICU, we'll move them into the kennels as long as there's no major injuries, which in the kennels they can have access to baths, which is great for them. Some of the younger pups, they don't get baths until they're a wee bit older, but they usually spend maybe 6-8 weeks in kennels. Some are a lot faster, especially with grey seals. They learn to eat very quickly on their own, so if they pick up and start putting on weight, we like to get them into the pools as quick as possible. We now have 3 pool areas. So we have the nursery pool, so it's where they start off because it's nice and shallow for them that they can find their way. Then we have the rock pool and the otter pool. And the otter pool at the minute is our pre-release, and in there they're away to the public view, so it sort of makes them a little wilder and stops them seeing humans all the time. So we basically, whenever we're in with them, we try not to interact too much with them. Some of them come in as young pups, they would have lost mum at an early age, so they do want to try and come over to us. Some of the young pups like to suckle, so sometimes you're trying to clean a kennel and the pup's suckling on your foot. You've got to be really harsh sometimes and just back away and try not to let them do it. It can be heartbreaking because they're crying for their mum, but we literally try to have as little hands-on experience with them as possible. Whenever a seal comes in, we don't know how long it's been on a beach for. If it's a young pup, it could be suckling sand on the beach, and obviously then its body's filled with sand. What we usually do is we tube feed them an ORS solution or else electrolytes, depending on how dehydrated they are as well, because we need to make sure that they're well hydrated, because it can cause seizures as well if they don't have enough glucose, or on the other side they have too much glucose. So we need to just get that balance right, make sure they're hydrated before we start introducing them on the fish soup. So usually first few days they're here, they'll get fluids from ourselves, whether it be the ORS solution or the electrolytes. I think it's very important because they're part of the environment, it's part of nature. A lot of people criticise us and say, if they're down on the beach, that's nature's way to deal with it. But do you know what I mean? We want to keep the seals alive. We don't want them disappearing on us and there being none left. So I think it's very important what we do here. We rely on the public, on donations, seal adoptions. We're doing a lot more sponsored events, so hopefully things will work.
Mel was finally rewarded for all her hard work and dedication, as she was nominated for and eventually won the Volunteer Ireland 2015 Volunteer of the Year Award in the Animals and Environment category.
I was shocked, to be honest. It felt good because it is nice to be, you know, thanked for the work you do, but I do this because I love it, and I don't feel like I have to be thanked all the time. You know, if I didn't do it, or if I didn't love it, I wouldn't do it. You know, some of my friends think I'm crazy sometimes when I tell them I drive 3.5 hours down here and 3.5 hours back, just to spend the weekend. But it's amazing. I mean, you look at the faces out there and those little pups. I enjoy it so much, you know.
Despite her award success, Mel still feels that the most rewarding part of her work is seeing the rehabilitated seals be released back into the wild.
Seal release day can be pretty busy. We usually are on site from 8 AM and we get the feeds cleared up for the rest of the pups, because obviously they're still our #1 priority. They need fed because sometimes we have very sick pups. We do try the night before to have the pups who are getting released in the kennel, so that basically the next morning we can come in, they don't get fed, because we want them going out hungry, whereas if we feed them, they're going to be going out with a full belly and they're not going to be interested. You just want to make it flow properly, and then you've got to think of the public safety as well. Kids and dogs and things like that, we need to make sure people are out of the way. So when we go down there, we're not just letting a seal go into the middle of a crowd. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. There's pups like 2 we released today. Emma Frost was with us and she was like a couple of days old. It was pretty sad as well. You get attached to them in a certain way, and it's amazing just to see them going out, because you think of them, you look at the before and after pictures, and it's just wonderful. Everybody feels the same.